What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've been behind the camera. It's been a while since I've done a mock draft here, and I know it's not really, mock draft season. We're in that awkward part of the year between, the draft and free agency, and then that lull, and then training camp and all that kind of good stuff. So I figured this would be a good time to give an updated 2024 mock draft. I know it's super early. I know a lot of people hate early mock drafts and all that kind of stuff. Just want to get everyone kind of up to speed with some of these prospects, get them, get you familiar with their names, where they're from, what they're all about. So that's really the reason why I'm doing some of these. I do my own order at this point. We have no way of knowing how good teams are going to be. We can only speculate at this point how good some teams are going to be, how bad some teams are going to be. So up until we get some real concrete, games played and all that kind of stuff, we don't really know. So this is a draft order that I came up with. If you guys recall, the draft order that I came up with in my way too early 2024 mock draft is a little bit different than this one. If you guys do remember the first overall pick, I did have the Washington Commanders trading up. So we're going to do it a little bit differently today. First overall pick, you got the Arizona Cardinals here, and they are in an absolutely tremendous position. Either way you splice it, they're probably going to end up, I'm going to go and say that they'll probably end up with 2 top 5 picks. We truly don't know how bad they're going to be. We don't really know how bad Houston's going to be either. Houston could surprise a lot of people with CJ Stroud. You never know. So right now we're presumably looking at the first and second overall pick back to back. Now these are franchise altering picks, number 1 and number 2. I don't even remember. I couldn't think off the top of my head a time that a team had the first and second overall pick, if ever, to be honest with you. Someone fact check me on that one. I'm sure that there's been maybe one team in NFL history that's had back-to-back first and second overall picks. But either way, this is franchise altering. Either way that the Arizona Cardinals want to look at it. They want to take 2 players at 1 and 2. They want to trade the second overall pick. They want to trade the first overall pick. Either way, it's going to be franchise altering because if you stay at 1 and 2 and you get 2 generational type players, that could change your offense. You guys probably know that I'm looking at Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1 and number 2. You trade either one of them, and you're going to get an absolute haul, and you're going to continue to build because that defensive side is weak. Now, if you have number 1 and number 2, I don't think that there's a defensive player on the board in 2024 that's worth taking with number 1 or number 2. It's going to be the generational wide receiver and the greatest college quarterback we've seen potentially since Patrick Mahomes. So I'm just going to bang out both picks here. Number 1 and number 2, it's going to be Caleb Williams for me, number 1 overall. And then number 2, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. It's going to be very interesting to see. Even if Kyler Murray puts in a fairly decent year, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. That contract situation is absolutely brutal, so it'll be interesting to see how the Cardinals maneuver it, what team would be interested in Kyler Murray. In my head, for some reason, I thought maybe Minnesota would be interested in Kyler Murray for some reason. I don't know. I have nothing really concrete to back that up. Just a thought that popped into my head. But be that as it may, those are my first 2 picks, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., potentially the best college wide receiver we've ever seen. And then you have one of the most dynamic playmakers at the quarterback position as the NFL is transitioning towards these more athlete-based quarterbacks. Number 3 overall, pretty straightforward. If Tampa is inside the top 5, they need a franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask are the 2 guys on the roster right now. I believe they signed someone else. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that, but either way, the quarterback room is not good. Drake May, 6'4", 225 pounds, has a cannon for an arm, has tremendous deep ball accuracy. That's exactly what Tampa Bay needs. This is a roster that's kind of in a weird spot. They seem like they're a quarterback away from being a contender. It's a weak NFC South. I wouldn't even be surprised if they win 7 or 8 games with Baker Mayfield in that weak division. So, you get a franchise quarterback for the future. Who knows? They're right back in it next year, after this year. So I'm going to go Drake May at number 3 overall here. At number 4 overall, I have the LA Rams here. And now this is an interesting spot. To be quite honest with you, after the top 3, it's kind of really tough for me to put a team there because I don't really want to put the Rams there. I don't want to put the Titans there. And I don't want to put the Falcons or the Bears there either. But these are teams that, the Rams did amazing in the 2023 draft. Will that translate to season success? It's tough to bet against a healthy Aaron Donald and Sean McVay as a coach, I really doubt that they would lose enough games to be in this situation again. I believe they had the 6th overall pick, but they traded it to the Detroit Lions. So the Lions had the 6th overall pick. But it's tough to see really any of these teams in the top 5. But this is just kind of how it fell right now. And if the LA Rams are picking at number 4 here, for me, it's going to have to be the best offensive lineman on the board. Now, I know that Rams fans are going to say, oh, well, the Rams really love their offensive line room. And that is true. I mean, they have Rob Havenstein and Joseph Noteboom under contract for quite some time now. To me, that doesn't really mean anything. There is a freak athlete at the tackle position this year. He would have been tackle number 1, in my opinion, if he came out for 2023, decided to go back, and that's Ola Fashanu. This guy is an absolute beast, 6'6", 320 pounds, an incredible athlete. I think if he's on the board there, you have to solidify your offensive line. I mean, this was, granted, it was injured. They added Steve Avila. They're getting Logan Bruss back, who's their 3rd round pick in 2021, who missed the entire 2022 season because of injury. You're going to, I think, 2022 draft, my bad. Nevertheless, he missed his entire rookie season. So you're getting some pieces back. I think you continue to add to that young offensive line and you build it back up. So Ola Fashanu is going to be the pick here for me at number 4. At number 5, this was another tough one. I have the Tennessee Titans here at number 5. And I'm looking purely at the defensive line here, to be quite honest with you, with this pick. It was a tough choice between Dallas Turner and Jared Verse for me. I think both of those guys are going to be 1 and 2, depending on how you rank them as the edge rushing talent this upcoming draft. To me, Jared Verse fits the 3-4 scheme a little bit better than Dallas Turner does. Sure, Dallas Turner can be an outside linebacker, but Tennessee is pretty much good in that area right now. I think that with I believe Danico Autry is coming off of a big-time injury and his contract's expiring this year. It would be nice to see them kind of slide in a first-round talent like Jared Verse, another guy who could have been a first-round pick in 2023 most likely, but decided to go back to school. So I'm going to take Jared Verse here at this pick. Oh, there he is. He's right here. And then at 6, this was tough for me. Do I want to take an edge? The Chicago Bears defensive line is so bad. And don't get me wrong, on the offensive side of the ball, they have Cole Kmet at the tight end position. To me, there's no offensive weapon better in this upcoming draft class than Brock Bowers. I think it's going to be tough because if Chicago's picking at number 6 with their pick, they have 2 first-round picks. It's tough to envision a scenario where if they're drafting 6th overall, that Justin Fields still is the guy. So that's very, very tough to see. They lost a lot of one-score games last year. They could have won a lot more than 3 games. I'm expecting a little bit of a jump. I don't know how much, but I still think that Justin Fields could potentially be the guy. And if you give him maybe one more offensive weapon, I think that could be it. And for me, that's got to be Brock Bowers. And this guy is absolutely outstanding at the tight end position. Probably, I can't even say the best tight end prospect since Rob Gronkowski because that was a 2nd-round guy. I don't know if we've seen someone, maybe since Kyle Pitts. Let's say that. I don't know if we've seen someone like Brock Bowers before, but I don't think that Chicago would be wise to pass him up, even with someone like Cole Kmet on your roster. So I'm going Brock Bowers here at number 6. With the Atlanta Falcons, I think this is clear. If the Atlanta Falcons are picking at number 7, it was clearly a quarterback issue for them. The Atlanta Falcons have done a tremendous job through the draft and through free agency and through trading to build up their roster. The one blemish on their roster right now, I mean, there's a couple weak spots, don't get me wrong. The biggest weak spot, though, just so happens to be the most important position in football, the quarterback position. I don't think Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are going to get you through the season. I think they wind up with a top 10 pick, and it's not due to lack of talent. It's due to the lack of talent at the quarterback position. So for me, I think if Drake May and Caleb Williams are gone, to me, it's kind of a toss-up. My quarterback 3 is a toss-up between Quinn Ewers and Michael Penix Jr. I think Quinn Ewers just fits this offense a little bit better. So he's going to be my pick here at number 7. Then at number 8, interesting to see, what was the last time we saw the Patriots inside the top 10? I think they didn't address the offensive line like I would like to see them. They could have had Broderick Jones this past draft, but they decided to trade back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they gained a 4th-round pick for it, but they lost the best tackle that was left on the board, in my opinion. Joe Alt is, technically speaking, he needs some refinement. But in terms of everything else you look for an offensive lineman, he is really outstanding. And I think that if he could just kind of clean up his technique a little bit, I think he's going to be the best overall offensive line prospect in this draft. Olafashano just has that raw power and that athleticism, which is why I think a lot of teams would like him more. But I think overall, it's kind of like the Peter Skoronski effect. You know exactly what you're getting with Peter Skoronski. That's why Tennessee drafted him. You're getting the most polished offensive lineman. You're getting probably the best overall offensive lineman, but he doesn't have that raw power, speed, athleticism combination. And that's what Joe Alt is in this 2024 draft. So I'm going to say that the boring white tackle is going to be the pick for the New England Patriots. Then at number 9, you have the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Indianapolis Colts, besides for Kenny Moore, are going into a season where I'm pretty sure all their cornerbacks are rookies. So that's a pretty unprecedented territory you're looking at. That's like a Seattle Seahawks 2023 situation right there, where you have just nothing but young talent. I think they continue to add to that young talent. This isn't a great cornerback class, but Kool-Aid McKinstry sitting here at number 9, I think you kind of have to get him. So I'm going to take Kool-Aid McKinstry here at number 9 to add just a little bit more young talent to that secondary. Then you have the Chicago Bears. Yet again, this is the Carolina Panthers pick at number 10, traded to the Chicago Bears. And this is where I'm going to take Dallas Turner. I think Dallas Turner, to be quite honest with you, would be better suited in a 3-4 as an outside linebacker, like a rush linebacker. But, he does have the size and the strength to play 4-3 edge. And I think that's exactly what Chicago needs. I mean, number 6, you could argue is more of a luxury pick, getting someone like Brock Bowers, but he was the best player on the board. So I feel like in that scenario, you probably should take best player available. Here, you're drafting more for a need, and I don't think it gets better at number 10 than Dallas Turner in this upcoming draft as of right now. Washington at number 11, kind of the same deal, the same game that I was spewing with with some of these other teams here. You look back at the Atlanta Falcons here, you look at the Chicago Bears as well. They're probably going to be drafting here due to quarterback play because honestly, their roster is really, really nice. I mean, it really is. I was very surprised looking through some of these depth charts. I was looking through the Washington Commanders depth chart. If they just had a halfway decent quarterback, and who knows, Sam Howell could be that guy. I don't know if he is, though. And then you have Jacoby Brissett. If they just had a halfway decent quarterback, I mean, they're playing in a division where all the quarterbacks are way more than halfway decent. So it's going to be tough for them to win games here, even with that loaded roster that they have. But I'm going to say this is the time where they take a quarterback in the first round here. I know he's rated, he was rated a lot lower on a different website here, but Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the pick for me. Sensational player. I know that his injury history and his age is going to be a big red flag for a lot of people, and it is, but the guy is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football. He takes care of the football, and he makes some tremendous throws. If you want to see the greatest throw in college football last year, you go to Washington versus Oregon. Michael Penix to I don't remember who the wide receiver was, but it was a sensational throw down the sideline from the opposite hash mark. It was amazing in between the cornerback and the safety. Amazing throw. That is what he could bring to the table, and he makes some NFL-level throws. So moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, I think that the Raiders stand pat, and they keep building their defensive line that's been so poor for so long here. And I'm going to go at Jerzon Newton here. One of the unsung heroes of that insane Fighting Illini defense that was last year. I would love to see him take another step forward. I believe he had 5 sacks last year, offered some really nice pass rushing ability from a guy that's a super solid run defender as well. And I think that would be a great addition to the Las Vegas Raiders defensive line. So I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton here, And then at number 13, you have the Green Bay Packers here. And this is just a very Packers pick, in my opinion. J.C. Latham is a guy that doesn't really excite a lot of people, but I think he has everything necessary to be a potential David Bakhtiari replacement. I already think that they have the right tackle of the future in place. Zach Tom was really, really good last season in place. Yosh Neiman when Yosh Neiman wasn't playing, or Elton Jenkins as well. Jenkins is moving back over to guard position. Tom is probably going to be slotted right into the right tackle position. Bakhtiari is getting up there in age. He's getting injured every single year. I think J.C. Latham would be a perfect replacement for the Green Bay Packers at number 13. Number 14, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers here. This is going to be a very Pittsburgh Steelers pick here. I'm going Jeremiah Trotter. Easily, for me, the best linebacker in the entire draft class. A little undersized, 6 foot, 230 pounds doesn't blow you away. But if you watch his tape, his sideline to sideline ability, he's tremendous. He often stood out more than Trenton Simpson did last season. So I'm going Jeremiah Trotter here at 14. At number 15, this was a tough pick for me, honestly. I really had no idea where to go. I don't really know if any other quarterback as of right now is worth a first-round pick. A lot of people throw Bo Nix's name around. A lot of people say Joe Milton. I'm a big Joe Milton fan. I need to see some consistency and some pocket awareness for me to consider him a first-round pick with that tremendous arm that he does have attached to his right shoulder. But I think the safest pick here, with the two guards that the Minnesota Vikings have slotted to start, it's just not a good look. I think Cooper Beebe is someone who has so much offensive line versatility and can offer them a lot. This is a guy who also started at right tackle for a couple of years. He was another guy that could have been a top 3-round pick last year, decided to go back to school. I think this guy slots right into the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, and he gives them exactly what they're looking for at the guard position, which is some stability and blocking ability. Cooper Beebe there. At number 16, another tough pick here for me. I'm going to have to go edge here. Joey Bosa is another guy. Gets injured way too often for me. He's going to be the one that stays, obviously, between the two. Khalil Mack, I thought he was going to be gone at this point already off the Chargers team. I mean, he had a really productive year, even battling some injuries himself. I believe he still reached the 10-sack mark. But his cap hit is just going to be too much for me. And he's also getting up there in age, and he's starting to slow down a little bit. Still a great pass rusher, don't get me wrong, but the ends don't justify the means. If you're going to pay premium price for a outside linebacker, I think at this point you can go a little bit younger and cheaper here. This is a player that I really like, Braylon Trice out of Washington. Washington's got a lot of really good players this year. Trice is listed a little bit lower. I don't really know why. He's coming off of 2 seasons back-to-back. I believe 9.5 and 9 sacks the last couple seasons. We're getting some stability here. This is someone that I like a lot more than Latu, Tuamaloa, Chop Robinson. Chop Robinson's more of an athlete. Tuamaloa is more of an athlete as well. Latu is someone that I like to see a little bit more consistency from. You're getting that outside linebacker consistency from Braylon Trice here, and I think he'd form a hell of a duo with Joey Bosa. Number 17, you have the Houston Texans for the Cleveland Browns pick here. And with this pick, I'm going to go with Mason Smith. They extended Malik Collins and they signed Sheldon Rankins, but I still think that doesn't do it for me in terms of defensive line depth and a potential starter right away. Sheldon Rankins, fine player. He was on the Jets last year, my favorite team. Malik Collins is someone I don't really know deserved $10 million a year, to be quite honest with you, especially since at the beginning of the season, the first 6 games, the Houston Texans defensive line was historically bad when it comes to the run. Be that as it may, he did sign a nice little extension here. Mason Smith is someone I like a lot, kind of similar to Jerzon Newton. He's a guy that brings a lot in terms of pass rushing ability, and he could stop the run too. So 2 really, really big aspects. Basically the 2 biggest aspects for a defensive lineman. Can he eat up blocks as well? He can. He's a big body. I love his fit in a 4-3. So I'm going to go Mason Smith here at 17. At number 18, I'm going to go with an offensive lineman. Amaris Mims from Georgia is someone who I wasn't necessarily so high on at first. Then you watch his game a little bit more, and this is someone that is, to be fair, Georgia offensive linemen in general over the past few years have really, really just done fantastic. We're looking at Warren McClendon and Broderick Jones, I don't think they give up a single sack between the 2 of them. Amaris Mims is someone who's going to step right into Broderick Jones's role, and I think he's going to succeed. He's got the body. He's got the athleticism as well. We could be looking at just a plug-and-play starter right away. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Denver Broncos just invested a bunch of money in Mike McGlinchey, but Garrett Bowles is also another player who's getting up there in age, and his price might not justify exactly what he brings to the table at this point. So they might be looking for a replacement. And I think Mims is going to be a guy who's going to rise upward steadily as the season goes on. So I'm going to go Mims here at number 18. Number 19 is going to be Kalen King. I know that the Detroit Lions added secondary players throughout the draft, and they added secondary players through free agency. Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton aren't really long-term answers for me, to be quite honest with you. So I think Kalen King is the second best cornerback in this draft class. A lot of people think that it is Denzel Burke as well. That could be argued. I'm a little bit less high on Denzel Burke than some people are, but Kalen King is the guy. When you watch Joey Porter Jr. highlights from last year, King is the guy that is really cleaning up the mess in the secondary of the Penn State Nittany Lions. So Kalen King is going to be the pick here for me at number 19. Then at number 20 here, we are going to go with Leonard Taylor for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it was kind of really tough for me to pick out like a standout player, but the defensive line could use a little bit of depth. So I think Leonard Taylor is someone who's going to really, really come alive this year. Another guy who just brings outstanding size and athletic ability to the defensive line position. I could easily see him lining up at a nose guard in the NFL, and that's exactly where I think he fits best in Jacksonville. So Leonard Taylor is going to be the pick here for me. At number 21, I'm going with the cornerback position here, Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. I mean, it wouldn't be a NFL draft or an NFL mock draft without like 2 or 3 or like 10 guys from Georgia, to be quite honest with you. So this is someone who, again, is a little bit lower on the board. Oh, okay, a lot lower on the board than some people have him here at PFF, but I'm super high on him. Another guy that I think could rise up the boards at Georgia. I mean, you're facing cream of the crop talent. So if he could lock up guys like Malik Neighbors, Johnny Wilson throughout the course of the season, I think you're really going to see him steadily rise up boards. I like his size. I like his aggressiveness. I think this would be a great, great compliment to Marshawn Lattimore. So Lattister is the pick here at number 22 for the New York Giants. I'm going to go with a wide receiver here. The Giants have done a really good job of putting somewhat good talent around Daniel Jones since he signed that massive extension. He needs a clear-cut wide receiver one, though. I don't think signing Paris Campbell or even trading for Darren Waller is going to be the answer. Xavier Worthy is someone, I know his frame is going to scare a lot of people. As of right now, he's listed at like 6'1", 165 pounds. This is kind of the same thing that we went through with the Jordan Addison archetype type of player. Super skinny, but super agile, incredible separator, especially in the second level. He's going to be awesome this year. And I think him and Quinn Ewers are really going to show out. And we're going to see why Xavier Worthy, for me, is the second best wide receiver in the entire class. So Xavier Worthy is going to be the pick there for me. Number 23 for the Miami Dolphins here. I mean, if you look at their roster, tight end is a huge, huge hole. Jatavion Sanders, we got back-to-back Texas players, hook 'em horns here. Sanders is another guy that I think is going to break out this year, and I think he's a big reason why Texas might be a very surprise college football playoff team this year. So Sanders is the pick for me at 23. This is where JT Tuimoloau finally comes off the board from here. Super high on him in my first mock draft, but watching more of the tape on him, he is more of an athlete. He doesn't really understand just yet how to play the position. I mean, his production isn't going to jump off the page at you. Number 1, 3.5 sacks last year, but he's an incredible athlete for his size as well. So I think that's going to really make a lot of teams excited about him. One team that does love to take athletes or guys that get high scores on the RAS test and all that kind of stuff is the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you remember a few years ago, Odafe Owa was their pick, didn't have a single sack in his collegiate career. He was a first-round pick for them. I think if Tuimoloau could figure out a little bit more consistency and kind of figure out how to play the position just a little bit better, I think he's going to be the pick here for Baltimore. Number 25, you have the Seattle Seahawks here. This is going to be Michael Hall Jr. for me. Another year where I think the Seattle Seahawks are just going to continue to bolster their defensive line. It is a tough division. It really is. And you need to get all the pressure that you can. Michael Hall is someone who a lot of people overrate, in my opinion. I saw him as high as like the 8th overall pick. I think that's a little bit crazy. I think he's the second, third, or maybe even 4th best defensive tackle in the entire class. But that doesn't mean that he can't offer his fantastic ability. And he could also eat up blocks as well. Another thing that's really big for him here, Michael Hall Jr. is going to be the pick. Offers a little bit in the pass rushing department as well, which is super solid. Derek Hall Jr., Michael Hall Jr., let's just keep adding Halls to the defense of the Seattle Seahawks. The Green Bay Packers here. Now, this pick not yet is the Green Bay Packers pick, but it's like if Aaron Rodgers plays like 75% of the snaps for the Jets this year, the second-round pick turns into a first-round pick. So, barring injury, I think that this will be the pick here. And it's going to be Javon Bullard. I think that they really need to address the safety position. And I think Bullard is, I think they have him listed as a cornerback here. Yeah, they have him listed as a cornerback here, Javon Bullard, but he's going to be more of a safety at the NFL level, plays more of the defensive back role at Georgia, not so much a cornerback, not so much a safety, more of like a Brian Branch type player. But I think he's a really nice piece that you could put in to that secondary for Eric Stokes and Jair Alexander to work with. So Bullard's going to be the pick for me here. At number 27, you have the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys, for me, it's going to be Braylon Allen. I think that Tony Pollard's injury really, really scared Dallas Cowboys off. Sure, they did give him, I think it was $10 million for the year. I don't know if he'll be the same player. He's an absolutely electric player, but even so, even if he is, there's a whole lot of nothing behind him. And this is a player now that has a serious injury under his belt. And the shelf life of running backs, unfortunately, is super short. So I like Braylon Allen a lot. This guy he's been talked up by so many people as the best. It's tough to be the best running back in a class that has Travion Henderson, has Raheem Sanders, Blake Corum even. But I think Braylon Allen is going to be the top guy. He reminds me so much of Jonathan Taylor, a bigger, more strong version of Jonathan Taylor. That's a really, really scary proposition behind that Dallas Cowboys offensive line. The pick is going to be Braylon Allen for me. Then at number 28, if Emeka Egbuka is on the board here, got to go for him. Emeka Egbuka he was really a product of the players around him. We're really going to see how good he truly is this upcoming season. I still think that he has first, second round appeal, but for the most part, I think because of the players that are around him, Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, he's played around some of the best of the best. He's played around Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. He's had fantastic players around him his entire career, but I think this will be his time to shine. I think he'll take advantage of it. And that would be an excellent third wide receiver to add. I mean, really fourth, because you think Dalton Kincaid is there as well, too. I mean, that would just be an unbelievable roster of offensive talent, especially if the Bills don't get it done this year again. They might be entering their last year, technically, of that Super Bowl window after 2024. Who knows? But Emeka Egbuka is the pick here for me. At number 29, we are going with Kingsley Suamataia. That is going to be my pick here out of BYU. Another super polished offensive lineman, part of one of the better offensive lines in the country the past few years. So I think there's a glaring hole at right tackle. Trent Williams is also not getting any younger. I think this is the time where I was super shocked that they didn't go after like Blake Freeland or someone like that in the third round this past draft. I think that they're really going to feel it this year, and I think they're going to have to go after an offensive lineman in the first round. Number 30 for me, this is the Cincinnati Bengals. We just saw that Joe Mixon took a massive pay cut to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals. To me, this is it. This is it for him. This is his last season in Cincinnati. I mean, the off-the-field issues, all that. He's always been a good producer on the field, but the off-the-field issues are just too much. He's also getting older. Raheem Sanders, 6'2", 225 pounds, can do it all. He's an amazing player, and he's going to really, really show out for Arkansas this year. I think he's going to have a super, super year, and I can't wait to see what he accomplishes. Him, Travion Henderson, to me, are going to be battling all year for running back 2 in the class. It's going to be Raheem Sanders for me, though, here. Then at number 31, I have an offensive lineman here. Slowly but surely, they drafted Cam Jurgens last year. They have Landon Dickerson playing guard. Isaac Seumalo left. So now you have Cam Jurgens either playing guard or still behind Jason Kelce. Kelce is probably going to retire one of these years, or I would hope that he's going to retire one of these years. I think the Howie Roseman mentality is you just have to keep adding to those lines. I think he's going to keep adding to those lines. I think Donovan Jackson is a really, really good pick here. So another super polished offensive lineman here. And you guessed it, he's from The Ohio State University. I know he's not from Georgia, so I don't know. Cedric Van Pran was another one that I was considering just picking just because he's from Georgia. And Philadelphia just seems to be the Georgia of the Northeast at this point. But Donovan Jackson fits a little bit better for me, honestly. He's more of a true guard. Instead of moving, I mean, don't get me wrong, they moved Landon Dickerson over. He was a center in college. They moved him over to guard. He's become a Pro Bowl guard. I think you let Jurgens play center and you draft a true guard, and you're just right back in it with a strong offensive line. And then the last pick in the first round here, the Kansas City Chiefs, I still think that this is going to be a wide receiver. And for me, it's going to be Malik Neighbors. Troy Franklin, Johnny Wilson, those are two guys that I was thinking of as well. Johnny Wilson was the pick last time for me, but Malik Neighbors is the clear-cut #1 wide receiver at LSU. 6 foot, 200 pounds, offers really good size, really good speed. He's so dynamic. And really, you just put any wide receiver in the Kansas City Chiefs offense, and they're probably going to be dynamic. So it's going to be Malik Neighbors for me. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There is my updated 2024 NFL mock draft. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'm starting to ramp it up. The production for the videos is starting to get a little bit crazy. We're starting to crank out 2, 3, 4 videos a week now. We're getting towards that time where it's going to get busy, and you don't want to miss any of the action. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one. Thank you.